Starting September 1939 with the Nazi invasion of Poland and finally concluding with the surrender of Japan in September 1945, World War II raged across two entire continents. During that time, a ton of events happened that have led to some pretty great works of art and entertainment. Unfortunately, not every story, true or fictional, can become as popular as Saving Private Ryan or Patton. Some of the more interesting stories from this time that don't get told as often are the ones involving defiance from everyday people. I'm ThinkSoJoE, this is Things You Might Not Know, and today's episode is all about the White Rose and their attempts to help save Europe. Initially comprised mainly of students from the University of Munich, the resistance group that eventually became known as the White Rose began their activities in the summer of 1942. This was a crucial time during World War II for Nazi Germany, as their ongoing world domination tour had seen its first major setbacks. For context, during August of 1942, the Allies finally started to make headway with winning battles and getting through much-needed supply drops in North Africa and the Middle East. On the Eastern Front, Russia saw great successes repelling back the Nazis, which led to their triumphantly won battle at Stalingrad the following year. This was a time period where everyday citizens of Germany began to truly see the losses to their country that war always inevitably brings. Seeing not only these effects of war, but also responding to individual traumas inflicted upon them by the Nazi government, the core members of the White Rose began non-violent intellectual resistance exercises. Filled with Antifa fury, Christoph Probst, Sophie and Hans Scholl, Alexander Schmorl, Will Graf, and Kurt Huber began an anonymous leaflet and graffiti campaign that called for direct action from the people against the Nazi regime and the denouncement of the Holocaust. At first, the leaflets were only distributed in Munich. As word got out and the number of allies grew, distribution of leaflets started happening in other towns and cities. The White Rose produced 6 leaflets in total, from which 15,000 copies were successfully dispersed. At the time, the majority of the members of the White Rose were in their early 20s, and they quickly gained a great deal of support. The Nazi government within Germany had an extremely difficult time figuring out who was responsible, but as the number of students comprising the White Rose grew exponentially over the months that they were active, remaining undetected became more and more difficult. The core of the resistance group was eventually uncovered and arrested by the Gestapo on February 18, 1943. The arrested members were all subjected to trials by the Nazi People's Court, which were mostly for show, as the guilt of the students had already been predetermined. Sophie Scholl, who refused to go down without having her feelings heard, continuously interrupted the judge during the quote-unquote trial, as none of the accused were afforded the opportunity to defend themselves, with most of them being sentenced to imprisonment or even death. Only 4 days after their initial arrest, Hans Scholl, Sophie Scholl, and Christoph Probst were executed by guillotine. Previous to the mass arrests of the White Rose members, the group had begun communication to collaborate with other resistance groups, such as the Kreisau Circle. We like to keep episodes of Things You Might Not Know short to keep everything digestible, but this story has so many more fascinating details. If you're itching to know more, the podcast My Favorite Murder did a great segment about the White Rose with way more detail of Sophie Scholl's badassery. In addition, Wikipedia has a list of all the main members of the White Rose and the legal consequences that many of them faced. Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching Things You Might Not Know. If you enjoyed today's video, please leave a like and a comment down below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that bell icon so you get notified every time I post a new video. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and you can see a playlist of Things You Might Not Know videos over here. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.